All right. Once again with us on the Stones and String podcast is David Keohan. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Oh, lads, thanks a million for having me back on. And I asked you guys to have me back on, and before anyone asked, there's a load of other stone lifters you could be talking to, but I just needed someone to talk to about stones, to be honest.
We're always here. We're always here. Even if it's like late at night and you're just thinking about stones laying in bed, just pull up Instagram and give us a buzz.
Oh, stop, because there's no one else around here I can talk to about it. You know, well, look, I mean, there's lots of people talking about it lately, but there's not a lot of people know a lot about it. You know what I mean? So you're just explaining yourself all the time. So look, it's just good to talk to people who actually know what I'm talking about for a change.
Oh, for sure. Speaking about people knowing about stone lifting, especially around Ireland now, like, would you mind giving us a quick recap of everything that's gone on in your life since we last had you on, which was last June, so 8 months ago? You've been on a whirlwind.
Oh, I mean, I have a list written out. It'll probably take me about 5 minutes to read it, to be honest. I mean, just everything that's gone on. I mean, when I was talking to you guys last, Sean was coming over, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. He was on the way over, I think, on the Thursday when we were talking to you on the Monday. So, so Sean was on the way over, and we had just the most amazing tour. That was just kind of like lightning in a bottle. It was just the most incredible thing. We went around the whole of Ireland together, all of these stones, went around to the islands, all around the west, around Galway, Clare, and we just had this amazing 5 or 6 days of stone lifting where all the villagers came out to watch us.
That's so wild.
People just came to see us. You know, there's lads just rocking up, just wanting to see this happen. And Sean is just an incredible lifter, and just to watch him lift and some of the stuff he's done. I mean, I've had some incredible guys along with me stone lifting since as well, and there's no one can replicate what he's done. You know, I mean, especially those ones down in Keohan and stuff. That lift the chest was. He's just incredible. You know, absolutely incredible. And I mean, he's gone down now almost into like the national consciousness because everyone is talking about him. You know, I mean, I'm going around. Like, I took the guys out on a stone tour there, about 3 weeks ago, and like everybody knows about Sean and everybody knows about his lifts because I've seen him. And it's like, and it's only when you actually put your hands on these stones and you see how big and heavy they are. Yeah, it's just you see what he done. It was just amazing. You know, it was absolutely amazing. So like he's gone down to almost like folk legend in Ireland now, which is just brilliant.
What's great too about having Sean get out there and essentially be the first person to go on a stone tour and lift these stones with you is that he showed that it is within the realm of possibility to lift these stones.
Exactly.
Like he's almost humanized the effort. Obviously, very few people in the world are as strong as Sean, but when people see that, they go, this is achievable. It's actually something I can do. It's not just a legend. This stone is liftable by a human being. So
exactly, because I mean, they're all just stories before that. You know, they were all just tales written down by kids, and you're like, what's conjecture and what's real and what's not, and what's a myth and what's a fable, and what's, you know, a tale that grew legs and it wasn't reality. But just having Sean there as the first guy to come over and to lift them all, you know, I mean, he lifted every single one of them, and just to show that it's possible and that these stories were based on reality. You know, it was fantastic, and we had a great time traveling around together. We stayed up in Clare, and like I drove him around. I took the week off work, and we went off just driving around and just telling stories and going to these areas and meeting the locals. It was just fantastic, and hopefully he'll come back over again, and we can do a few more of the stones, because I'm after finding, since I've talked to you guys, actually I'm after finding another 12 lifting stones since the last time we talked. You know, so I mean, that's another 12 stones found, and some of them just absolutely incredible. You know, those ones up the north, like, and the ones on the islands, the stories behind them are just amazing.
That's so awesome.
One of the things that I just found so cool about your tour with Sean is, like you mentioned, is having the locals come out and actually watch the lift, like having those intergenerational like experience and insight and everything. I just found so cool.
It was awesome. I mean, like the likes on, like, you were chatting, and you know, he gave a great like a glowing review, I suppose, which was lovely to hear when he was chatting with you guys on the podcast. And you know, the likes of meeting like Sean Cushtel and meeting the likes of Inishboffin, Tommy and Inishboffin, and just seeing these guys, like the last guy who lifted these stones, and they're out like watching it happen, and they were just so happy to see all this. I mean, we made a beautiful documentary. Literally, when Sean was over as well, it was mad because he said you were talking about the Blind Boy podcast, you know, so like that Blind Boy podcast had just dropped, right? Yeah. So what was happening was when Sean was there, it was like the podcast had dropped about 2 days before he came. So every time I turned on my phone, I was getting like 1,000 messages or like 1,500 new follows on Instagram. So every time I turned on my phone, he's like, "What the hell is going on with you, Dave?" I think it was going bing, 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 bing. You know, it's just like that. I didn't realize the reach that Blind Boy had, especially over here. Like, he's about 5 or 7 million people listen to him. Yeah, everyone who listens to the podcast is into folklore and into culture. So I was just getting stories and stones just dropping into the inbox every time I turned my phone on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. It was just this whole cultural reawakening that just happened in that 1 week. I think I went from like 4,000 followers to like 16,000 followers in about 3 days as well. It was just the whole of Ireland just said, oh, hold on a second. I remember there's one here and there's one here. I remember my granddad talking about one. And as we were there, I mean, we found the one down in Dripsey in County Cork that I just got a call. And myself and Sean actually then put that into the tour and went down and lifted that stone together. That hadn't been lifted in 60 years. And we met the woman, like her granddad was the last man to lift it. And she came out with the village, and just impromptu out of nothing, we went down to Cork and lifted this stone in Dripsey, like the only Irish plinth stone that so far that I found, So, I mean, that was just, it was incredible. It was happening as we were talking about it, as we were in the middle of it. It just kept rolling, And we were trying to see, can we get up the north to these other two stones that I got? I'm like, it wouldn't have been feasible at the time we had, but it was just amazing. It just happened that quick, and that was the cultural tipping point. And once that happened, ever since then, it's been just on this massive upward trajectory. Like, I mean, that was incredible. I was like, can I get any bigger than this? And then all of a sudden, there's guys on the phone and saying like, we're a part of national TV, or we're on this like Today Show, or this and that show, and with these celebrity people like doing these shows, and they're like, we want you on, we want you up, we want to have a talk about it. I'm like, Jesus, I mean, and this is like daytime TV, and like, I never watched daytime TV, I haven't had time, but I mean, a lot of people do. So I mean, you got up, and then all of a sudden, you weren't just this disembodied voice on a podcast; you were someone that people were seeing on the telly.
Yeah,
getting a lot more kind of interest from people from that, and it just grew and grew and grew from there. It's just been. It's hard to describe how much that it's taken off. In since we talked, it's become part of the national psyche now. People are aware of it, people are proud of it, and people want to come and lift it, and they want to know more about it. So it's absolutely been a little bit mentally jarring, to be honest. But I mean, just it's been very, very fucking cool as well. I mean, you dream of something like this happening.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I was going to ask, and that's probably the answers when that Blind Boy podcast episode dropped. But like, was that sort of the moment of realization when you thought, what I'm doing here is finally catching fire and getting that national and international recognition that all of us in the stone lifting community up to that point knew that it deserved? But that's when really it became more broadly known to the masses.
That was definitely the cultural tipping point. It was starting to build a little bit. I mean, we had the Iron Culture guys over. And they were lovely guys, Eric and Omar, and they came over and we shot a little mini documentary and stuff. Before that, and I remember Omar saying, "Just keep going, man. Just keep going. You're going to hit that tipping point. It's going to happen." And you're there, kind of, nah, I don't think it. I mean, I hope it will, but I mean, but it just kept going. And then, like, once that podcast dropped, it was literally just like a dam bursted. It was like all this information was here, and then everyone just went, boom, this is really, really interesting. And I suppose the fact that, like, we've been through so much in Ireland, with colonization and with the losing of our culture, through the penal law system and through like the actual genocide of the people. And it's like, I'm not going to get too nationalist about it, but we did suffer, I mean, like 500 to 800 years of like imperialism and colonialism, So, and we defined ourselves through the struggle for so long. Like, all our songs are rebel songs. Anytime we get together, we do all that. And like, I remember as a kid being, there was still the punishment beatings and the shootings and the killings up in the north, and that was part of my day-to-day life. But these new generations of people, that's not there anymore. In the last, if you're under 30 years old, that was never a part of your life. For the first time in probably, like I said, 800 years,
right?
There hasn't been an active battle with England on the land, So it's like, who am I now? What does it mean to be? We define ourselves through the struggle for centuries. The struggle is now not there. What does it mean to be an Irish person now? And between that and between, climbing out from the smothering blanket of Catholicism that was here and had an iron grip on the country for so long as well. So we climbed up underneath these two things, and it's like, okay, now who am I now? What does it mean to be an Irish person now? So I think the fact that you're through this, reaching back through all that, past all of that, pre-Christian almost, to these druidic and pagan ways I think there has been a huge upswelling in the love for Irish history, mythology, and the language and the culture coming back in the last 5 or 6 years. You can feel it here. It's people are loving being Irish now again,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we were pretty much ashamed to be Irish when I was a kid. We had nothing. We were poor as dirt. We had nothing. Our culture was gone. I mean, everyone knew us as a drinkers. But why are you drinking? You're drinking because you've no attachment to your land. Your language is gone. You've had that severance of culture. You've lost that connection. But this is bringing the connection back. And that's why I think people have rallied to it so much. They're like, oh shit, this is really important. This is getting in touch with you. It's not just lifting the stone. It's almost like lifting the culture, lifting the heart of the nation a little bit. Not to be talking it up too much, but I mean, people have said that to me. Like I've had 5 or 6 guys saying, "Look, you're healing cultural wounds doing this." I never thought about that.
Yeah, sure.
But they're saying like you're doing something, but you don't realise how important it is to people. That's what pretty much what I'm getting. Yeah. And I never thought about it like that. It was just an innocent journey beginning, but I think it's taken that's taken over the past 4 to 6 months. It's this reclamation,
How has that been for you? Because I know you started all of this with a passion for stone lifting, and after your trip to Scotland, you were very curious to see if there was any stones with history in Ireland. And like you had just said, it's now gone from, your fascination with stone lifting and hoping to find something there to taking over a consciousness for the whole country. And you're kind of spearheading this resurgence of Irish culture. So how does that sit with you? How does that make you feel? Like it must be overwhelming, and you seem to be handling it well. But
it's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. But how does it? It must make you feel quite amazing to be the guy who's leading this.
It's kind of overwhelming, like you said. Like I said, it didn't begin like that. It began quite innocently and just looking for the culture, because I just thought it was like just a really cool culture, and like surely that's here as well. But it's become something else. It's after growing into something much more than what it began. And like I said, yeah, it is tough, and I'm not going to deny it. You're the only person doing it. So, I mean, literally everything is going through you. I mean, there's not a break or a lunch break or an evening where I'm not talking to somebody. Or, this is my 3rd podcast this week, but I requested this one. The only one I requested. I requested this one specifically because I wanted to chat, but it's you're always talking to somebody, and it's tough. It's difficult. There's a lot involved in it. Mentally, it's tough to just go back to work then. You're like, I'm back in work and no one really cares. No one really knows about it in work. But on the weekends and on your time off, you're doing something, almost stratospheric. You can't even quite comprehend what you're doing, So it's been difficult to judge that way. It's difficult to, it's been difficult to manage that mentally, to be honest with you. No doubt. But it's a labour of love, and I'll keep going as long as I possibly can with it, But I mean, really, I want to get the information out as soon as possible because, not to be like negative about it, but like, what if something happens to me? Right. I mean, what if something happens? The stories and all that stuff will be gone then. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to get the book out as soon as possible. I'm trying to get as much information out, just in case. Please God, we've not happened me for a long time yet. But I mean, just in case something happens, you're literally just that access, that knob that everything has to go through. So I'm just trying to get as much out as possible now over the next couple of months,
Yeah. It's so beautiful too, because I mean, as you'd said, the Irish people have had to lean on this mental fortitude and strength to withstand and persevere through the past 800 years. Not knowing really, and so the current generation not knowing that in tandem with that mental and fortitude and strength, there was a history of physical strength that was lying right below the surface, waiting for you to come along and light that spark. And it's just so cool now that you see that tradition be picked up and renewed, because I know you had mentioned before that, a stone that hadn't been lifted for multi-generations. Now the farmer's getting, 13 to 15 calls a week for people. Some of the farmers who like their peace and quiet are probably cursing your name. But the ones who are excited to see this cultural revival, I mean, how incredible to now have these things become, sought out.
It's amazing. I mean, every weekend I'm getting videos and pictures of guys, men and women going to these stones. Just they're like, it's in their local, it's in their counties, in their village, or they're not. They're traveling maybe hours to go visit them. And they're just so happy, and they're so, you see the joy when they look at that lift, and you just see how happy it makes them feel. You know what I mean? And like that's a wonderful thing to be able to spread anywhere. You know, but also to have that in tandem with the culture end of it. It's really important, and it's just so awesome to see it. It's so wonderful to see these guys get that sense of connection. That, you know, I mean, like we're super connected, like virtually, but I mean, we're very, very not much connection going on, physically or culturally. You know what I mean? We've kind of sacrificed like width for depth a little bit. And when people kind of get that sense of depth, when they lift these stones, they get it. You know, they get it straight away. I was out with a documentary crew. And these guys weren't even from Ireland. These guys were British, and we were doing a documentary up in Alnacally and up in Galway. And this guy, like I found a stone at Derryclare, which is just absolutely beautiful, written about back in 1876, and it's on by a lake, and it's just a wonderful tale attached. And when we get to this stone, and it's by an old chieftain's lodge, by an old hunting lodge, and said like whoever could lift this stone, like the chieftain would give him a glass of his wine. So everyone wanted to try and lift the stone because no one knew what fucking wine was back in 1876 in Ireland. It was all poaching and whiskey, you know, and what the fuck is wine? So everyone wanted to try this out. But like I found that stone, and someone found it, and I went and saw it and lifted it. But the guy who was doing like the sound engineer for the documentary was like, "Oh fuck, I gotta try this." And your man, the guy shooting the camera was like, "This guy doesn't get excited about anything." He said he never gets excited about it. But he went and he got the wind under that stone, and he was fucking buzzing. You know what I mean? Awesome. There's just something about it, isn't there? It's just deep in there, you know?
It is. It helps. Just, you'd mentioned documentaries. Is there a couple names of documentaries that you could let us know, so anyone listening, if they wanted to watch that documentary, they could find it and know where to find it?
Yeah, there's only one release so far. Okay. It's called Smigay, so SMIG space E. So it's called Smigay, and that literally means chin it. Mm-hmm. So that's about the stone up in Scalp, and that's in County Tyrone. And the story behind that is absolutely just unbelievable, because that dates back to the old festival of Lunasa. So Lunasa will be, it's also the name for the Irish month August, Lunasa, Mina Lunasa. But Lunasa will be the festival of Lu. So I mean, Lu will be an old Irish god. You're talking probably 3,000 to 5,000 years old, that they used to hold harvest festivals on the 1st of August in connection with Lu, you know, because that was Lu's time. So like Lu Nasad, so Lu's Nasad would mean Lu's assembly, which is Lunasa. So they'd go ascend the hilltops, and they'd light fires, and they'd have dancing and singing, and they'd pick the wild bilberries or blaeberries, and they would then have the local games, almost like the local Olympics, like the Chalton Games, the ancient Irish Chalton Games. So they'd have leaping and throwing, but the highlight of the day was lifting the scalp stone. So the scalp stone it's 150 kilos of gabbro stone, like windstone. So very, very dense, like denser than granite. And to get the wind under it, you're like a hero. But if you could smigay, which means literally chin it, if you could pick it up to your chin, you're a legend. So it's like, that's just such a cool story. I mean, that's like pre the birth of Christ kind of stuff we're talking here. Mm-hmm. Like, we're going way, way back with this. And that stone was lifted up until the 1940s, and then mainly forgotten up in County Tyrone. So when the lads heard that began the Blind Boy podcast up there, he was like, "Just come up, you got to see this." So I organised to meet the guy up there, a fellow called Diarmid, on a Saturday morning. And I said, "I'll meet you." And he said, "Meet me in this little cafe." So I went into this cafe, and the cafe was ram-packed with people. I was like, "Geez, this place is doing some serious business on a Saturday morning." And sat down, ordered a coffee, and then Diarmid walks in, and we were chatting away for a while, and he was like, I was like, "Jesus, there's some other people in here." "Yeah," he said, "they're all here to see you." "This is the guy." And I was like, "Hey!" Everyone over there, "Hey!" I was like, "Oh, no, fuck." Photographers and journalists and all kinds of stuff. And they were like, "Can we come up with you?" I said, "Fuck yeah, that's brilliant." So the whole fucking half the village ends up coming up the side of this mountain, the Scalp Mountain. And I'd invited Jamie Gorian over.
Oh, yeah.
Because I said, "Look, this is the very first stone found in the north. It's a mainly Western Irish culture. So this to me was the bridging stone between the Irish culture and the Scottish culture, you know, because it's up in the north of Ireland." Yeah. So that's an important stone, you know. So it's like, I'd love to have a Scottish lifter. So I mean, Jamie said he'd come over. His friend John came over with him. They came over on the bikes, and we all went up together, and we all chinned the stone.
Legends.
All of us, myself, John, and himself. And like the farmer was there, and he was like, "I've never seen anybody lift a stone that high in my life." He said, "I remember watching guys come up, and they might get a bit of light under, they might get a bit of wind under, but like nobody could even get that stone to their lap." We heard stories I know stories of my granddad saying that men lifted it and women even lifted it before. But I said, I've never seen it. And he was fucking delighted, So sure enough, we done that. I made the documentary crew came with me. Just one woman came with a camera, and she made a lovely little short documentary, maybe about 6 or 7 minutes on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the most amazing kind of reclamation of something. Everyone was just so happy. The place itself is like a natural amphitheater. It's just the most amazing thing you'd ever see. You crest this hill, you come up, and then you're looking down into a bowl, and it's like a coliseum kind of thing almost. And said people used to ring around the top and look down and watch the games.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. It's absolutely awesome. And like I said, and so we're trying to actually. I was asking them, so why don't we just rerun that festival this year up there, like they used to do, for the last couple of thousand years. Like it stopped in the 40s because of wars, but let's bring it back. And they're like really excited about it. So I think that'll actually happen.
Wow.
And they want to show the little documentary up in the village, and stuff. It's just brilliant. I mean, we talk about like a reclamation. It's just absolutely incredible. Like, and that stone is amazing. It's such a cool lift. It's a really, really weird, almost like almost like a pyramid shape for all the world. Very similar to the Fina. A little bit heavier, but really cool stone to lift. And it was just great to get that smiggy, that chinnet, and what a cool way of lifting the stone as well. And what a lovely.
I really like that actually, because we discussed this with Martin Jancic in the last episode. I've heard people say that standing with the stone is as long as your body is erect, right? You could have that stone on your belly button, and if you stand, it's a stand. Whereas we here kind of always considered standing with the stone way up high on your chest, right? And so that concept of chinning the stone is kind of what we've been doing without calling it that, right? So I like that quite a lot. That makes
it was just awesome. And like the fact that it goes all the way back to the Feast of Lunasa, and the God Lu, and the God Lu, then like his son would be Cuchulainn, which would be one of the most amazing Irish mythologies and stuff. So I mean, it's connecting to mythology, history, culture. It's just absolutely awesome.
What has this done, if anything, to how you feel about your Irish heritage as well? Just to understand, like, every stone has this incredible, rich history, symbolism. It was a centerpiece for community. Like, it must be so rewarding for you personally, and increase your appreciation of where you've come from.
It's just been a revelation to me, really. It's deepened the connection so much to what it means to be Irish. Everything, I've gone deeper into my mythologies, cultures, history, strength, patriotism. I've just got loved. I mean, I'm learning the language again. I'm on Duolingo every day of the week, relearning the language, and it's just it's amazing, and it's so deep in like everything from the landscape, from the traveling. Like I never went to any of these counties before. I mean, I lived down the southeast. I'm quite happy there. Like I might travel down to County Cork or somewhere close, but I'd never gone west. I'd never gone to the islands. I'd never gone north. And in these past 2 years, I've explored Ireland. All of it, from the north to the south,
Exploring your own country,
west.
Really.
That's it. From the Midlands to the islands, and it's been amazing. It's been a total and utter revelation, and it's been very emotional as well. It's been super emotional. It's been the second bite of the cherry. It's incredible. And, like, writing the book has been an emotional thing. I'm really, really enjoying that. I sent it off to a publisher actually last week.
Oh, wow.
Over in London. He's over the London Book Festival, and he was like, "This is just absolutely fantastic." He was like, he loved it. I was like, I didn't know, because I never wrote a book before. What the fuck do I know about writing a book? Like, but it's just the stories just tell themselves. I mean, the stories just needed to be told. So, like, I'm up in the morning at 4 a.m. typing for 3 hours before I go to work, and I just needed to get this book out of me. So, like, it's out of me now. I think I've done the 3rd draft of it, and I sent it off to him, and he was like, I was literally like skipping emails. He said to read the book. I was like jumping out of my lunchtimes to read the book. He said, I just thought it was amazing, and I can't wait to share it with people. Now, he said, look, there's a few things we need to go through again. I'm into my 3rd draft. We probably end up doing another 1 or 2 drafts, getting more maybe into the mythologies and histories a little bit more. But it's great to hear like a publisher say, this is really good, and I can't wait to share it with people. You know what I mean? So that was great, because, like, you don't know. I mean, you're almost like a child waiting on a teacher to correct your work, because you don't know anything about it. I always enjoyed writing as a kid and stuff, and I always knew I could write. But I mean, writing a book's a different thing altogether. But it's great to hear that, and I can't wait to share it with everybody. I'm going to call it the wind under it, just because I love the phrase. It's very Irish way of describing it, and that's what we're going to do.
Oh, I can't wait to read it. And so is it basically, are you breaking it down, by chapters stone by stone? Or are you
Yeah,
telling the story of your journey, or what's the premise of
pretty
it?
much. So like the thread, the running thread through it is like, um, like we were talking about, they're reconnection to the past, reconnection to what it means to be Irish. That's the running thread. But I mean, every chapter is a stone,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the finding of it. Every stone has its own story. So it's everything from the research, to hearing the wonderful stories, to driving to the place, meeting the locals, getting their stories, finding the stone, sometimes easy, sometimes hard, lifting the stone, what that felt like, and sometimes then the revisiting of it again after not being able to lift it the first time, the training involved, going back. And like I said, the running thread is like just getting stronger, getting more and more connection to the land, getting more and more notoriety from doing it. And the first and last chapters are both the Inishmore stone, the original finding of it, and then going back with 3 documentary crews and being invited by the Limo Flaherty Festival over to lift that stone in front of all the islanders, which was just, it's very hard to top that. It was just an incredible moment.
No.
What perfect closure on sort of that chapter of your stone lifting journey and the journey of discovery, like to be able
So, I mean,
to have such an incredible physical effort in front of everybody there for that festival. Like
I was shitting myself. I was so nervous. Fucking so nervous. I was like, oh God. Because I mean, at that stage, it had grown so much legs. Like, the Limo Flaherty Festival invited me over. But then there was 2 separate documentary crews coming over to film it. And a famous Irish program called Nationwide, which is everybody pretty much watches over here. It's one of the most watched TV programs. They got wind of. They came over. National News came over. So there was actually 4 documentary teams set up with tripods and fucking and
no
boom
pressure.
mics. No pressure. Like I don't know. Can I lift this thing? You know what I mean? I've been training for it for long, but. And then all the islanders. I mean, it was just a moment. I mean, we went down, like when I was walking down towards that stone, and just in your head, you're thinking, the last time I came here, no one cared. This was the first stone I found. This is the very first one. No one cared. Nobody. It was just me by myself. And now you're thinking to yourself, here I am with all of the islanders, all of this national attention, and the difference in 18 months, and you're walking down the same path, and all this is going through your head. And then the fact it was the Limo Flaherty Society, and like Liam wrote the story, so like the society invited you over, and some of Liam's kids were there, his grandkids were there, Yeah. You're like, Jesus Christ. And then, this is all going through your head. And then like they had a reading of the story down at the stone. So like we were there, this young lad comes out like in the yarn jumper, traditional hat, and he reads the story of the stone at the stone in front of all these people, And you're trying to hold the emotions in. You're like, because you're fucking sitting in the story. When you're reading that story, and it's like, yeah, I can see all that. But when you're actually sitting at the stone and someone's reading the story, you're immersed in the story. You are the story then, So you're immersed in this story. And he talks about the sparkling in the mica in the stone, and you're literally sitting there looking at the sparkling in the mica in the stone. He's talking about the surroundings. You're looking at the surroundings. Just mind blowing. And then we had an Irish girl read it in Irish, and that was beautiful. And then it was like, right now, you're going to lift a stone, David. So sitting on a stone, like just my mind's drifting for 20 minutes while listening to these stories. And then it's like, now get up and lift 171 kilos without any, in front of fucking 4 documentary teams without any warm up.
But you got it.
No fucking pressure, lad.
Yeah.
So then it was like, just get up, shake out your legs, and pick up the fucking stone. So first go, broke the ground, got a good break the ground with it, but it's like, no, that's not enough. And second go, got it up to my lap, which was just amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it any higher. I was hoping to be able to stand with it some way, but to be honest with you, I think the way I lifted it, it's just so big.
Right.
I'm not the biggest of men, and I couldn't get it through my knees. It was like, it was just the stone so broad, it wouldn't come through my knees. So I mean, I could get it to here, but I just couldn't pull it into my lap. It's such a big stone. It's hard to describe until you actually get up close to it. Sure. And I think Sean touched on it as well. It's just so big. It's a big fucking stone, and it's granite, and it's tough as hell to lift. There's hardly any handholds on it. But I mean, just to get it that height. What's that?
Are the handles they're not very good on that one?
They're not great because it's very rounded. It's very, you know what I mean? It's so much smoother than all the rest. I mean, because I've found some other granite stones since, and they're much heavier heavier crystals, bigger crystals, so
Right,
it's much
more
easier to
grit,
grip
yeah.
them. Like the one on Inishmaan, the stonemason's test, big crystals, easy to grip, actually toughen the finger pads because it's so grainy. And the one on Inisheer, the smaller of the Aran Islands, the same thing. And again, I just thought it was fantastic that all the stones in the Aran Islands are these pink granite stones. The three Aran Islands, all three of them are all pink granite stones, and they're all really, really heavy. It's such a cool little thing that all the Aran Islands have their own pink granite boulders. And again, like I said, that's easier to lift. But I mean, this stone, the Nemo Flaherty stone, is super smooth. It's really smooth. I don't know why that is, and it's tough to lift. But just to get that lift and just to hear the roar from the Islanders, and like you're thinking, like in the story, the roar from the Islanders, the old man could remember that still to this day when you're reading the story. Like, I'll never forget that roar from the Islanders either. And then like you became the story. Then like you and the stone and the story became kind of interlaced. It was just amazing moment.
Will you be going back when you're 90 years old to give another go? Or?
I think it'd be a good way to go out. I'm actually seriously thinking about that. We all got to go some way. I mean, I think I could fucking add to that legend, man. I just fucking add to that legend.
Well, that story is just so powerful. I remember reading it quite a few years ago. David Horn had posted pictures of each page on his Facebook, and this is before I'd been introduced to you, or you had found this, and I found that story so powerful. And like that was when I was first getting into stone lifting, and it like really connected because I could already imagine the significance of that stone and how it felt for this fella, and finding out that it was real and that you went to it, you lifted it, and it was just so wild to go that this, all the emotions that you had about it is this is real. And I can go see it.
Oh man, it's just incredible. I mean, like to find out it was real. First of all, it was like magic. It was just magic. That story isn't fiction. It's not. It's reality. And to top the whole fucking thing off, when I was over there, I remember talking about this before, and like Peter Martin was talking to a woman on the island called Fiona, and Fiona said, "No, this stone is a real stone, and this is the reason I went over there." Because Fiona was talking to Peter on a Reddit thread and said, "Look, this stone is real, and it's based on a reality. It's based on a real stone. It's down near Port Vale and Doon in Gortnacoppel, and it's on a pathway heading down towards the beach." And I was like, right. So that set me off looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was over there, and I'd lifted the stone, and I'd said my thanks, and up came a woman in a red jacket and sunglasses, tears streaming out her eyes. And she came up and she gave me a big hug. And I'm like, are you okay? Dave, she said, "I'm Fiona. I'm the Fiona from the story you talked about. I'm Fiona O'Flaherty," she said. So she's Fiona O'Flaherty. So she's like the great grandchild of Liam O'Flaherty, who wrote the story. And that was the woman who spoke to Peter Martin in the Reddit thread 10 years previous. So I just said, "Look, if it wasn't for you, we just wouldn't have been found." And really said, if it wasn't for you, the culture wouldn't have come back, because that started it all. So that was just
I know, yeah. I almost teared up. Oh, shit. Take a bit of a break.
Yeah.
Do you ever just think, like, is this real? Like, is so many things that are kind of
I'm writing about this in the book.
Yeah.
I've had about 6 people say, "David, you do know magic is following you around, don't you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I think I've come to accept that now. Myself and Jamie were on the island first, because 4 weeks later we went back to the island after finding my original find of it. Remember, I said Jamie came over with us and he lifted the stone up to his chest. But we passed a well on the way back, a freshwater well, and there was this round blue stone that just called to me just beside the well, and Jamie copped it straight away. He was like, "Lift that up," he said, "as a wishing stone." And I copped it straight away and said, "This thing just cried out." So like I put that stone up onto the well, the beautiful round egg-shaped stone, probably about 80 kilos, and I put it up on top of the well, and I wished that I could find more of these stones in Ireland, because that was the first I'd found, and I'd asked the land's permission. And I truly believe that small act of humility and asking permission to do this has almost like made you a vessel to go find these things, because there's been too many happenstances, lucky chances, walking down the road, find the one person in the village who knows about it, tripping over a fucking stone down in Kerry that was buried in the ground. Just the land wants the stones to be found again. The land wants this back. The land wants the culture back. And you're just being the vessel that's been, chosen to do that. That's what I feel anyway. I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. That's what I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really feel that's the truth.
You have to give yourself a bit more credit, though, right? You have to give yourself a bit more credit, because it's through your hard work and your dedication and blood, sweat, tears, money, time, all of these sacrifices you're making, that you're putting yourself in these situations where you can meet people and have those conversations, or you're seeking out the Reddit threads to find additional info on other stones. You're talking to the villagers. So it wouldn't have happened to you if you just been sat on your ass on the couch. So
no. I mean, you make your own look in this life. So I mean, like
yeah,
you put yourself in a situation where something to happen. And what I just found amazing is it's just happened so much, and
right.
36 fucking times. You know what I mean? 36 times. I've got lucky, and it's rare that I don't find one. If I go look for one, it's rare it's not there. It's just been, like I said, it's been too. There's been too much lucky breaks for it to not want to be found. You know what I mean? It's just happened. I mean, the one down in Kerry, like we went down to Kerry, from the first ones in County Kerry, the Kingdom, about 3 months ago, and I went down to the Wharton family. And see, this beautiful big stone, very fucking, almost very similar to the Husafell, and it weighs exactly 170 kilos. But it's like the Husafell, but it's just square. It's just a square. It's so fucking difficult to lift. It's like a big fucking square block, thick block. And it's like, how do I get this into my lap? You know what I mean? It's so fucking big and broad. And he said the men used to gather on the Sundays and lift that. And we lifted that stone. But talking about, like, just look, well, we went down then to find an old iron ingot down in Blackstone's foundry. So Blackstone's foundry was the Welshmen were brought over in the 1600s, because like we were under penal law, they were sent over to they fell all the local forests and used the charcoal to make iron ore.
Mm-hmm.
So they set up a foundry in Blackstones in Kerry, cleared all the land, cut down all the oak forests, and done that for about 80 years. But one of the outside there was this large iron ingot that he used to lift. So I'd heard about this. So a friend of mine who lives down in Kerry went down to look for it, couldn't find it. He found the foundry, he found a load of bits, but he couldn't find the ingot. But sure, I said, look, I'm down in Kerry, I'll go down and have a look anyway. Walking through the field, my foot hits something, I nearly fall over, stumble. And what is it? This is like the nose of this iron thing just popping up out of the ground. So just start digging at it, and up comes this fucking 5.5 foot tall iron ingot, like it's about this thick, and it's like, I literally tripped over the fucking thing. So that thing wanted to be, you know what I mean? That thing wanted to be found. It was buried. It was never going to be found.
Didn't want to
buried
be found.
Deep.
Yeah.
So up comes this iron ingot. I'm like, fucking size of it. What a cool lift. And it's so narrow. It's such a weird lift. It's so heavy, but it's so narrow. Like, it's only about, 9-10 inches across, like 10 inches square.
Right.
But like 5 foot high and solid iron. So it's like, fucking, it's a really awkward lift, but a really cool lift as well.
What do you figure it weighs?
Just figure out the way to do it. Exactly. Just figure out the way to do it. So it's just a hug lift. But the hug was so narrow, you're literally almost like hugging it with your, with the inside of your elbows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Usually when you're hugging something that heavy in a stone, you're coming around it like this. So you're coming around it like this.
Right.
But this, you're literally coming around it like this. So it's awkward as hell. But really, really interesting lift, and a really, really cool, such a cool looking object.
Yeah,
really
sure.
cool looking object to lift.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea on the weight?
Yeah, we what we done was, a friend of mine who works in a foundry, and he gave me the way of calculating it by size.
Oh, okay.
We measured it, and we calculated it at 230 kilos.
Okay, yeah, that's a rough one.
That's a heavy lift. But I mean, that's heavy. But I mean, the one I found up in Sefin, up in County Derry. Fuck me, lads, that thing is just. It's like something from Stonehenge. It's a pillar.
Right?
It's just a block. It's like the Bjornov stack. It's like the Irish Bjornov stack.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's the way I put it. Exactly. And like, you have the ties in between mythology, like the Fionn McCool was meant to have thrown this stone from a nearby mountaintop and landed on the top of this hill. But I mean, the chieftains used to be coronated at this stone up on the top of the hill. So the ancient Irish chieftains used to have to ascend to the hilltop, put their hand on that stone, and announce their right to rule. So I mean, this thing has some serious history attached to it, and the fact that it was thrown by Fionn McCool meant it was a sacred stone.
Right.
So we went up to this place, and we found this stone, or the lads found it, and I went up to have a look at it. And we got up there 6 o'clock in the evening. It was like the golden hour, and the sunlight was shining through there, sideways, that oblique kind of sun, and like the stone is schist, so it's like it's silver. It's like silver, incredible. The thing was glowing amber in the light. It was like, this thing is fucking. It felt magic. It was like a magical stone, and but I saw the size of it. I was like, there's no human could lift this. Looking at it, going, No, just like, when you get first impressions, like, no fucking way. You know, I'm after
Right.
traveling all this way. I'm after driving 5.5 hours. It's like, there's no human being alive can lift this stone.
David's coming. It's
Oh
coming.
man, this thing, right? So I was like, again, documentary crew had come over, and we got there. I tried 3 times and was like trying to lift a mountain,
Sure.
Right.
and
Yeah.
I was just about to give up, and I walked off, and I thought about where I was, and I kind of deep breaths and kind of meditated a bit, and almost felt the power come through me, and went back to this stone, and something clicked. I don't know what it was. It was like you summoned something from somewhere else, and that stone came up about 2 inches off the ground. And
That's awesome.
even the people there were like, I can't believe a human being done that. You know what I mean?
Right.
They were like, that thing shouldn't be, you shouldn't be able to lift something like that. It's too fucking big, you know? And it happened, and it was just, but what happened afterwards was the price to lift it was, I think my CNS shut down for about a day and a half afterwards.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
I slept for about 16 to 18 hours the next day, on and off, patches. Just my body just shut down. I was absolutely wiped. Got home, slept the whole next day. It's like I wasn't meant to lift it, but something helped me lift it, and then
You were a vessel of some.
my body just wasn't able to lift it. It was too fucking big. Do you know when Eddie Hall was talking about trying to lift a big deadlift, and he was like, you almost had to think that something like your kids were trapped under a car or something, you had to lift it up.
Right.
That's
You
what it
gotta
felt
go
like. It felt like something else happened that came through you. You did it, but you should have been able to do it. But I'd love to see people give it a go. The problem is the farmer up there's a little bit of a, you know, he's not the most welcoming guy. So I mean, look, the local lads knew him, so I was allowed to go. But what we're trying to organise for this year is, I want to bring that stone back up to the top of that hill, and put it back in its rightful place, because it was just through mischief in the 1830s was rolled down the hill. So we're trying to bring that back up, like with local archaeologists and historians, and drag it up the hill on logs and do it the old school way, and hopefully have one day a year that people can come and lift the stone, just one day.
Awesome.
So we're going to try and organise that sometime around the harvest festivals, which will be August, that the farmer would let a few people on his land one day of the year to go lift that stone, you know.
That's
And
fair.
I'd love to see it go forward, that people go lift it, because it's such a test.
Amazing.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure, like, it's probably about the same weight as the Bjornov stack. You know what I mean? Is it more? I'm not sure. Like, the guy who said, one of the guys up there was like, I think it's close to 300 kilos. I don't know. I've no fucking way of knowing. But
Right.
it's around that weight, and I'd never trained that kind of lift before. So just to be able to do it was amazing, you know?
I do want to sort of touch back on that ingot too, because what I found so interesting about that one is that it was the first sort of man-made test of strength. Oh yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
First sort of man-made test of strength that you have found. And what really struck me about that is that the people of that time valued having access to a test of strength over the actual intrinsic value of that material, which during a time of scarcity, I'd imagine an ingot like that was worth quite a lot. But for them, it was more important that they had access to something to be able to test themselves on, which was something I found just so fascinating. I think something that, you know, our cultures nowadays could probably learn from. And that
I think definitely, you know, I think that we're missing out on that a lot. You know what I mean? These old rites of passage, and that's why, like, I've loved seeing the people take this on board so much over here, that the men and young men and older men want to go lift these stones to feel connected. You know, there's a dart, there's a hunger for it. There's a real hunger for it out there now, you know. And like I said, back in the day, it didn't really matter, because I mean, like, going through all the Dukas archives, it was like more kind of ephemeral things, like large sacks of grain,
right,
or harrows, or plows, you know, and then things that are more resilient, like anvils and stuff. I mean, there's so many stories in Dukas. Like this, it's maybe one in 8 or 1 in 10 lifting stories are a stone. The rest of them are sacks of grain or large bags of meal, or, you know what I mean, something that people could lift. And men would test themselves and get around and do that. But I mean, then it's ephemeral. It's gone then in a couple of weeks' time,
right,
you know.
Yeah.
So it's just these stones. It's great to find them, you know, because obviously they stand the test of time. But there's so many stories. It was such a part of day-to-day life a couple of 100 years ago. And like I said, it's something that I think we're really missing out on here now.
Absolutely.
And I think that's evidenced by the fact that after you've sort of brought some of these stones to light, so many people are now going and visiting them. Like, it is that
awesome.
activity is exactly what people need to be doing more of. They need to be giving themselves goals, physical goals, things that are going to test and reveal their grit. Some, you know, and then also getting outside, adventuring, exploring your own country, right? All of those things that we probably need to be doing more of on a day-to-day basis is available through stone lifting.
It is. I mean, and it's something that it's something that even doctors should be. I'm not saying stone lifting, but the doctors should be describing. Just get out into nature a bit more, lads.
Yeah.
Just get out into it. You know what I mean? Feel a bit of connection, because we're not feeling connected. We're in your house all day, or on your sofa, or you're in work, or you're in a car. You're not even connected to the ground. Get out and get your shoes off and get connected to these places. And
Yeah.
I mean, and talking about that, it's actually probably another. I'm just Mr. Tangent. I go fucking everywhere, but I'm after getting offered just the coolest fucking thing. And I tell you, there's an island off the coast of Mayo, called Ardalan. So Ardalan is an old monastic island. This is where the hermit monks used to go and used to live on this island. I think many of the islands on the west coast, that's where they used to go, because that was the edge of the world, back in the 1600s. That was the edge of the world, to Europeans. You couldn't go further past that. Like, we're on the west coast of Ireland. So this was a magical island. So the English name for it is High Island, but it's Ardalan in Irish. So there's a monastery on that island, and there's a lifting stone on that island. So there's a lifting stone, which is a perfectly round granite boulder, perfectly round, like Atlas stone round.
Yeah.
Why it's there, how it's there, why is it so round? I don't understand. I don't understand why it's there, but it's on the island. I was thinking, like, maybe the monks use it, because they have to be strong. They'd have to go out and row, and they'd have to go fish, and they'd have to do all this kind of stuff. So I've been invited by the owner of the island, a man called Keohan, to come onto the island this year. He said there's only probably about 3 to 5 people set foot in that island a year, ever.
Wow.
So I own the island, so I don't let anyone on it. But he said it's a monastic island. That stone is available to lift on the island, and I'll take you out in my boat, he said, over the summer. And what he said was, you're never going to see anything like this on this earth. You're never going to see anything like this anywhere else. It's an ancient, monastic, sacred island that used to be an old enchanted island. Nobody goes there. It's untouched. It's unspoiled. There's a monastery built out of dry stone over there. You got carved in stone crosses, and you've got this lifting stone. And he said, it's magical. This is what he said. It's a magical island, So I can't fucking wait to go see this thing. And so I asked him, could I bring maybe a documentary team with me? He said, I'll let you bring 2 people with you. So I'm going to bring a cameraman and maybe one friend. I have an idea who I'll bring. But this is something that doesn't happen and won't happen for anybody else. It's just this one-off thing that you're going to go put your hands on something that the monks used to lift on an island 500 to 600 years ago. What a fucking cool experience that's going to be. And just to see the island and to feel the energy coming from it. Walk around with your shoes off and see the fucking island. Because there's no one lives on it, because it's there's no one lived on it for 600 years. There's no jetty. You have to get close to the island, jump onto the rocks. It's an actual adventure to even get to the fucking island. It's really difficult. And you have to have a charter, or like a boat charter, to get out there. But you have to have the landowner's permission. And thankfully the landowner's he's going to bring me on. So that's just going to be so cool to see that. But all these cool experiences are happening, all these amazing things. It's just such a blessing. It's an absolute blessing to do this. And I think this is the gift back for doing what you're doing. For me, this is the this is the thanks for me. If I do nothing else but get to that island this year, I'll be a fucking happy man, because that's something special, something magical. It's something that, like I said, not many people in the world will ever get to experience that.
Yeah, what a privilege, but a privilege that you've earned, right?
Yeah, that's just so much. I could fucking talk all night, but one really cool one I want to let you know is there's a beer being released next week or the week after next, called the Milan.
Oh no!
So honest to Christ, so like a beer company up in the White Hag Brewery up in County Sligo. So like we know what you're doing, we think it's awesome, and we release kind of mini batches of beer. So what do you think of maybe having a beer about the lifting stones? Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that. Fuck yeah, let's do that. You know what I mean? So they were like, okay, what do you think? Give me a name, because we export 50% of our stuff. We export 50% of our beer to the Netherlands, to France. So it has to be a name that people can pronounce. It can't be really an Irish name. I said, what about the Milan? Mullan. Absolutely perfect. That'd look great on a can. It's only 5 letters. Brilliant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they sent me down the can of beer that they're going to release, and 6% beer, Milan. There's a piece about the Irish lifting stones on the side. There's a piece about me on the side. A little QR code you can scan that into my socials. And like that'll be
Holy.
sent off to the Netherlands and to France and to Britain and all over Ireland, and they'll have it in tap and pubs. And I'm like, that's like the Irish version of a knighthood. I mean, that's just fucking awesome.
100%. Yeah.
It's like the keys to the city or something.
Jones, yeah. Oh,
So yeah, absolutely fucking class. Like there's just so much really cool stuff happening. It's amazing. I mean, like, I can't wait to get this beer. And they said, look, we'll sponsor an event for you. So it's like, right, sponsor an event. So that got me thinking. Like we used to have the Chalton Games over here. Did you ever hear of the Chalton Games?
No,
No.
not familiar.
The Chalton Games were ancient Irish sporting day or days, 800 years before the Olympics. So like back in like 1800 BC, 800 years before the actual Olympics started in Olympia, in Greece. We were doing the same thing here, right? So the Chalton Games were ran in a place called Telltown now, which is the Irish for Chalton, up in County Meath. And I was in a guy contacted me from Telltown. He's bought the land that the games used to be held on 3,000 years ago.
Wow.
And he's like, I want to revive the Chalton Games. So I mean, the old Chalton Games were like, say, chariot racing, horse racing. You had spear throwing, stone lifting. You had like the Irish Gaelic games, like wild hurling. Then you had running, leaping. It was pretty much like an Olympics. You know what I mean? Think about it. You had river swimming, all that kind of stuff. So he's like, I want to do that again. So like, okay, let's do that. Let's see, can we run the Chalton Games? And he's like, the land will remember the games, he said. So he said, there's an amphitheatre purposely built. It's obviously all covered with mud and earth and grass now, but he said, there's an actual amphitheatre up here. He said, I can guarantee that's where they used to do a lot of the games. And the running tracks are still there. So we're going to try and bring back the Chalton Games this year. That were held, like I said, thousands and thousands of years ago. Bring that back. Nice. And then I was like, shit, okay, let's get the fucking boys who were doing the cans or the drink from. They said, they want to sponsor. Let's sponsor that event. You know what I mean? And then we'd have a craft section, like we'd have jewelers, we'd have basket weavers, all kinds of stuff there. So like that could be cool. It could be like a counterpoint to the Highland Games in Scotland. We have the Chalton Games here. So yes, there's all kinds of cool stuff happening. I mean, I'm constantly on the go. I'm on the phone every night. I'm talking to somebody. But it's just so fucking damn exciting. You know what I mean? It's just so exciting to be able to do it and bring that kind of culture back,
At the Cheltenham Games, can people get their own little mini Indiana Stones stuffed figure?
Oh, the wife made a great thing. Oh, we got some laugh off that.
Oh, yeah. That is so funny.
She dropped that out to me. Oh, I think we got about 2 days laughing off it. It's just fucking brilliant. It's the exact same, you know what I mean? With the green shorts and the hat, and the shorts fucking grey and the beard, and
yeah.
Oh no, this I got this as well from Whiskey on the Rocks. That's me lifting on Ennish Turk.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, that's cool.
One of the lads sent me on that from America as well. So yeah, all this cool stuff happening. Merchandisers, like there's a guy who wants to merchandise the hats I'm wearing now and stuff as well.
Right.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. It's really weird. It's fucking strange, but it's just so cool. It's who the fucking thought? I mean, then going on to that Tommy Tiernan show the other night. I mean, that's like the Irish version of the Conan O'Brien show. It's like the biggest fucking show. I mean, it's the biggest show in Ireland by a mile. Yeah, it's an interview style show. The other ones were just, you were like a little segment, but this is like you're being interviewed. And next, there's this famous actor, and next, there's this famous musician, and then there's David Keohan, and on the TV and meeting these guys, and you kind of, is this actually happening? Right. This is so fucking unusual. And then you're back to work the next day, and it's like, did that fucking even happen? Yeah. What's going on? Like, you're literally living a double life, and it is weird, and it's difficult to process sometimes, because somebody's going to work going, this is just shit. I don't want to be here anymore, but I have to be here because I need to support my family. I have to be here. I have to make money, but there's so much more other stuff I could be doing with my time. You know what I mean? So I'm just hoping in the next 6 to 12 months that I can start to segue out of the job I'm in and just start doing this full time, please God. Hopefully we're putting in for a government grant to write an academic paper on it now. That's gone in, and we put that in 2 weeks ago. Awesome. in connection with Ulster University. Like we're putting in to write a proper academic paper on it, and we put in for a good bit of grant money. So if that comes in, like then it's time to start doing it full time. So fingers crossed.
Oh yeah, if I were to come upon a wishing stone, what my wish would be is we need a stone lifting TV show hosted by David Keohan, where he travels the world and visits different stone lifting cultures.
That's honest to God, we've actually talked about that, and I've 5 documentaries made, minis, but I mean 5 made and 4 are in post-production. One, the small one I was talking about, this MiG-8 that was released. But there's 4 other ones in post-production, and their goal is to put these in as what do they call them, buzz trailers or whatever, to big companies like Netflix or Hulu or one of these other companies, and say, look, give us money, we make a documentary on this, we do season 1 Ireland, season 2 let's travel the world and lift, you know. So there's 4 or 5 of them are going to do that over the next couple of months.
Awesome.
And
amazing.
hoping one of those will land, and if one of those lands, that will be a fucking reality. That will be right. David is now going to lift the Irish Stones on camera. We're going to shoot a documentary, whether it's a long form documentary like the Rogue ones, maybe an hour and 30, or whether it'll be a series. That's to be decided. But I mean, I was just before I came on to you guys, I was talking with one of the documentary makers. He showed me the documentary we made on Inishmaan, going back to Inishmaan and lifting the stones over there, the stonemasons test and the graveyard stone, and getting the lifts on those, and meeting the local Mihal and all that kind of stuff. And it just fucking looks great. I mean, of course I'm fucking biased, but I think it looks wonderful. And he showed it to other people. He said, I think it's fantastic. You got guys on there who like just speak in Irish and they can't speak English, and that doesn't happen in Ireland often. And you're meeting all these really cool characters, like the last guy who lifted the stone is on it, and I was lifting the stone in front of him, you know. So he's going to drop that into the film festivals, like the Irish film festivals, hopefully put it into some of the foreign film festivals. And yeah, that's happening as well. So yeah, I mean, you name it, it's happening at the minute. You know what I mean? In 6 months, lads, it's been some fucking turnaround, hasn't it?
No kidding.
Well, it's a full cultural revival through the lens of stones, right? Is kind of what it seems like.
Yeah.
That's it. It's been this whole cultural revival. It's just hit at the right time because there is that cultural revival happening here now anyway.
Okay.
And I think this just hit at the right time. Maybe if I'd done this 10 years ago, maybe it wouldn't have landed, you know. But just because of the whole landscape of what's going on over here, it's landed at the right time. And sure, with that again, that's brilliant, you know. And long may it last, and we'll just keep riding the wave as long as we can fucking go, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just there's clearly so much going on in your life with respect to stone lifting, and like you said, you have your own job, and there's documentaries in the works and all these things, but through it all, you're still able to put in the training and come back and revisit these stones, and each time keep getting better lifts and lifts and lifts. Like how? Yeah, I mean, for people who don't know, you are a world record holder in kettlebell sport, but even with those past accolades, has stone lifting sort of changed what you thought was possible physically for yourself?
I think really when I'd done the 2 hours, everything else in my life has felt easy since then, because you've done something no one else in the world has ever done, and I don't think anyone will do it again because people have tried and they haven't gotten there. Wow. I hope someone does. So I can go and shake their hand. But once you do something that's so difficult that people felt it was impossible to do, and then you do it, there's a certain potency that happens in your mind from that. You become like a more distilled kind of version of yourself. You're like, right, everything else is going to be easy after this. So once I couldn't lift these stones, I will say when I first tried to lift the Inishmore stone, and I was like, we weighed it at 170 kilo with Jamie, and I was like, I don't know, we're able to lift that. It's so heavy, you know, compared to like, we went over and lifted the Scottish ones. I was at the pin of my collar lifting some of those, you know, and some of them I couldn't lift. And like they were the 120, 130. I was like, Jesus, 170 is a big fucking jump from 130. You know, it's a big percentage. Yes. But to be able to build up that strength just out the back garden or lifting on the beach over the past 12 months from finding them to go back to lifting them again has been so rewarding. You know, I mean, I've done no gym work. I've done no specific weight training except for like stone lifting training, you know. And the fact that that's worked and I've managed to build myself safely, because I mean, again, I'm not a young man. I'm 45 this year. And so to be able to get stronger in your mid-40s, doing something that's pretty fucking difficult is a great feeling. And it just goes to show you that, I mean, you see all these memes online that people, when you hit 40, your body starts shutting down and stuff. But yeah, have you actually trained? You know, have you trained your body? Do you work on your mobility? You know, do you figure out where something is wrong in your body and fix that? You know what I mean? If you haven't, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anything is possible. You know, if I'm there at 45 lifting a fucking 171 kilo stone up to my lap that I couldn't lift 12 months before that, at 43 or 44, it just goes to show you that anything is possible if you fucking look after yourself right, you know? And I believe I haven't hit my peak strength yet. I believe I'm getting stronger all the time. And I'm going to go relift these stones. I mean, I tried to get out to Inishturk with a documentary crew there about 3 or 4 months ago. to try relift that stone. It's one of the only 2 stones out of the 37 that I couldn't lift was the one in Inishturk, and one of the ones out in Connemara. The one in Inishturk is 207, and the one in Connemara is about 215 or 217 roughly. So it's just to get the wind under them. But I mean, I lifted that stone. We found one that the Clock and Cahir Darrick, the stone at the Red Chair, and that's 203. And I got a great lift on that there a couple of weekends ago with the lads. Right good lift on that. So I feel like, that stone will come up next time I get out there.
Mm-hmm.
But we tried to get there. We're in the middle of a fucking Storm Isha. Couldn't get out. The ferry wouldn't go. So it was like, right, okay, thwarted. But please God, I'll get back there in the summer and tick that one off. It's just a beautiful stone, like 207. That's a big granite boulder. And again, granite, pink granite boulder. Again, and a totally different archipelago of islands off the west. It's like the islands off the west have their own little subculture of pink granite stones, which is really cool as well.
Oh,
200 plus kilos. But David, your poor back. Your back will be destroyed. What are you doing? Hernia is everything.
I'm not here.
Every fucking day online, there's some bollocks saying that. I'm like, would you just fuck off? You know what I mean? And people feel the need to just tell you these things. I'm like, lad, I don't give a fuck who you are or what you're saying. I'm going to do me, you do you, and just fucking jog on. You know what I mean? Why people feel the need that they have to comment on everything? If you don't agree with it, don't fucking comment on it,
Exactly.
But it's just the culture that it's in now. It's like people feel the need to comment on fucking everything. So I'm at the stage in my life, like I said, mid-40s. I don't give 2 fucks what anybody thinks. I'm just going to do me. You know what I mean? So look,
but when people aren't happy with themselves, they find ways to try to belittle the accomplishments of others that they wouldn't be able to accomplish, right? Like, I could shoulder 280 pounds if I wanted to, but I don't want to because I'll hurt my back. So you're dumb for doing it, right? It's just ridiculous.
The amount of people online worried about my butthole from hemorrhoids. It's unbelievable, the comments. I never knew that my butthole was so much of concern.
Oh man, it's funny because I get the same fucking thing. It's like, would you just go away, you fucking weird perverts? Leave my butthole alone. What I do with my own asshole is my fucking business. But I mean, man, it's just fucking weird. Online is weird. So I mean, like, it's just get out. Like that's what I'm saying to people: just get off your fucking screens and get out into these things. To see what reality it really is. This is real life. You know what I mean? This is real life.
Something as parents with young kids too, like we're just so conscious of. I remember when we were little kids, the weekend would hit, and we were fortunate enough that our parents' house is near the river valley, so we'd be off exploring in the woods and just
that was our summer.
That was our summer. We're running around, we're building forts, we're play fighting with sticks and stuff. And then nowadays you see commercials saying your child should be getting 30 minutes of outdoor activity per day. Like we have to be reminded that that's the bare minimum. It's really a sad state that our culture's in, and I think that when more of these sort of tests of strength become more commonplace, I know in Ireland they certainly are. In Canada, we're trying to build our local stones of strength and invite more people.
And you're going from strength to strength, lads. You're flying. You're absolutely flying over there.
Yeah, and it just thanks. People wouldn't then look sideways at someone who's trying to do something physically difficult and wonder why they're doing that and try to find ways to criticize it. They would be more in tune with how rewarding and important that is to your life. And
that's exactly right. You know what I mean? To be a bit more supportive. I mean, like it's easy be a keyboard warrior. It's so easy. But I mean, it's only when you go out and you see the joy that, like, going off on that tour with the lads there last couple of weekends ago. The joy in the faces of these men. Some of these guys in their early 20s, some guys 18, 19 years old, who some of them have never done much physical work, but a couple of these young lads came out to lift a stone around the tree. Like the Husafell, the Irish kind of version of the Husafell stone. But just like these guys, they just about broke the stone off the ground. But the joy, the pure, unfettered fucking happiness that you saw on their faces. They'd done something difficult, and they felt how cool it felt. And they're all up to and shaking their hand. And I'm going to go start training now. I'm going to start training on stones. I'm going to start training in the gym. I want to do this. I want to try these stones. And the hook got in him. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
I mean that's wonderful. But what I saw the other day, lads, there was one of the lads. And he must have been only like 70 kilos, 70 fucking 5 kilos max. Small guy, really small, narrow waist, with the belt. And I'm like looking at him. We started off in Kildare and the Clock and Cahir Darrick, which is 203 kilos. And this guy stood up to try it. I'm like, no fucking way. Right, he stands up, and I think he gets a better lift than most people on it. He gets it up almost to his knees. And I'm like, what do you do? He said, I'm a rock climber. He said, I train rock climbing. That's all I do. And the strength in this guy's grip and his forearms. But it really put it home to me, is like, you don't have to be a big, huge, bulky, massive guy to lift these stones, you know. Good grip strength and good technique. And this guy just blew me away. He absolutely blew me away. I was like, fuck. And then how, you know, you look at him going, he's so small. How the hell is he doing that? But his grip strength is so big, just a naturally strong guy. And it really kind of blew the whole, for me anyway, like, you have to be a huge guy to do this attitude, you know, out of my mind. It was like, no, you just have to be fucking strong enough to do it in the story. And it was great seeing that, you know what I mean? It almost kind of educated me a bit on it as well, because I've been thinking about just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Whereas, you know, you don't have to be fucking big. You just get strong, you know, get your grip strong. And this guy's grip was like a fucking vice grips. And you know, you said then, when you feel you can grip something, it'll come up. No, you know what I mean? You talked about that in the podcast before. It's like, no matter how strong you are, if you can't grip something, it ain't coming up. You know what I mean? But this guy, obviously from rock climbing, just had that grip strength, and the stones were coming up to him, no problem. So it was like, that's actually a really cool thing. Yeah, maybe if people concentrate on their grip strength a bit more, they might get a bit better at the stone lift.
It's huge. Grip and wrists are just massive. And like, they've even done, from the science point of view, they've done studies where they've put like electrodes on your muscles. And I'm not sure which part of the body it was, but they measured it. And the harder you grip something, actually, the more neuromuscular signals are sent to your muscles. So the stronger your grip, quite literally, the stronger your body is, because your brain is firing more and more and more. But that's also why grip is such a taxing thing on your central nervous system, right? So it does work both ways. But if you build a stronger grip, you quite literally are a stronger person.
But that makes a lot of sense then.
Yeah.
That explains that. You know what I mean? Because it was just amazing to watch this little small dude blow a lot of these big, heavier guys out of the water by just having that strong grip.
Sure.
So yes, I mean, that's something that people can take away from this. Maybe then, you know, working your grip strength a bit.
100% grip and
your stone lifting. Yeah.
I think stone lifting is such a puzzle to begin with. If you can remove one of those variables, have one less thing to think about when you're lifting, knowing that your hand strength, your wrist strength, your grip strength is where it needs to be to lift that stone, it's going to make the effort so much easier.
Yeah, it's like deadlifting with straps, right? Or if you see somebody doing a finishing set, even like an overload with shrugs or something like that, if you're wearing wraps, you can do so much more because you don't have to worry about that one element. That's exactly your point, Dale. If you work on your wrists and your hands, and you know that is no longer the weakest link in the chain, then you can just put your hooks in and then focus on every other aspect of it.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And it's something I'm going to be working on a little bit. I have some nice kind of rounded stones at the back that I'm working on for that kind of that grip strength. You know what I mean? That pure open-handed grip strength. And that seems to be really helping as well with the lifting lately. You know. Right. So just the last week, there's two stones I'm going to find next weekend. Two new finds that I can't wait to find. One of them up in Connemara, up in County Galway. And it's in the middle of a field by itself. It's the weirdest looking thing. It's this big lifting stone, but it's just in the middle of this cut grass field with these mountains in the background. It looks like something from Sean's trip to Faroe Islands. It's like just a stone by itself in the field. Why is it there? Why hasn't it been moved? Obviously, this field has been used, but I thought, I mean, why isn't it over in the corner of a field? But no, it's in the middle of a field. So I got the story that there was a couple of strong family who lived up in that area who used to use this as a testing stone. And I'm going to see that stone next week. And I can't wait because it's such an unusual looking area. You know, it's beautiful, picturesque place. But the coolest one, I don't know, do you remember when I was talking to Johnny Dillon on the podcast? And we were talking about a stone that was lifted onto a bridge. He was talking about a stone that was lifted onto a bridge in County Limerick. He said there's one man could lift this huge flagstone onto a bridge and no one else could lift it. I went looking for that stone at a bridge, which I thought was the correct bridge, in Abington in County Limerick, but I couldn't find it. I went looking for it specifically there a couple of months ago. Then I drew a line under shit. That's okay. It's not available. Mm-hmm. I got a text about an hour before I came on here to you guys from a local Limerick man who had heard that podcast recently and found another bridge, but he said it's in the area that they spoke about in Dukas, but he said they've changed the actual place name now. But he'd found another bridge, and under the water beside the bridge, he sent me on a picture. I don't know, can I fucking show you online? He sent me on a picture of the stone under the water beside the bridge. I was like, that's the stone that they were talking about.
Holy shit.
How on the fuck is he going to see this? Probably not the best picture, but can I get it?
Oh, it's a little hard to make out.
Oh, there we go. There's a flagstone.
There's the flagstone under the water beside the bridge. And I was like, that has to be it. It's a flagstone that was lifted. No question it's that. And it's the exact same shape as a Thomas Lonergan stone. And it looks, you answered, it looks around 170 kilos. It's like, that's the exact same shape and size stone that Thomas Lonergan lifted in Clogheen. It was like, that's just fucking class. I was like, I can't wait. So I'm like, so we're going to head down on Tuesday, actually, to find that stone and try and get it out of the water. We're going to bring my waders and try and drag that stone up and try and put it beside the bridge again and lift it onto the bridge.
Every time your phone buzzes, you must just be like, oh,
Here we go.
Oh, you're hoping, you're hoping. But I mean, that one is just so cool because like that was spoken about in Dukas and we talked about it with Johnny and it was like, I put it away. No, that's not going to be found. And sure enough, there it is, just lying up like under about 7 inches of water waiting to be lifted again,
Oh, man.
So I'll let you know how I get on Tuesday.
Please do.
Oh, this stuff is also fascinating. Like I always find, we have so many good stone researchers, right? And it's so good we have them and they'll go back and, they'll find papers or whatever kind of texts are written about a stone and the era it's from and the year it was lifted. But what I find so fascinating about the Irish mythology is because of the oral culture history of it, you don't have a lot of those texts. And so you're drawing the line between folklore, myth, reality, and all of that. And it's so, so cool. Because, some of the stones, like you mentioned the one earlier, it goes back to days at least 1,000, 2,000 years ago, right? And now that's not going to be written about anywhere. But if it was named after a certain harvest festival, well, those festivals haven't been around for a certain period of time. So it's, like you said, there's a bit of magic to it all where you have to put faith in the stories to make them accurate. And it's just so cool to me.
Isn't it beautiful? I mean, and like that one that we found up in Derry, like the name of the hill is Sefin Hill. So Sefin literally translates to sea, which is seat, and Finn, which is Finn McCool. So it's the seat of Finn McCool is the name of the hill.
Yeah.
So the name of the hill is Finn McCool's seat, and the stone is on that hill. So I mean, the land itself is named after the mythology. So it's like, how old is that? How far back does that go? That's Fionn McCool's seat, and then it's the Sefin stone. So it's like literally Fionn's stone. So I mean, that's Fionn McCool's lifting stone. And you're putting your hands on a fucking lifting stone that was lifted by Fionn McCool, through mythology. I mean, obviously we can't know that, but in your heart, I believe it. And like, you're like, I put my hands where Fionn McCool put his fucking hands. It doesn't get any cooler than that.
The stones almost validate the legends and validate these myths and the folklore, right? In the absence of the stone, you could say, oh, maybe these games didn't occur in this area, but then you walk, and the stone that is said to have been lifted in the games is right in front of you.
It's there.
Amazing.
Exactly. It's immortal. The stone's like, it's there. It's telling the story of the land. It's there. So, I mean, like, it has to be part of something. It was lifted before. I mean, the stories are still resonating through the villages of people who lifted it. The legends are still there. So, like, it lends, like I said, credence to these old stories.
Yeah.
It validates them, in my eyes anyway, and it's amazing to be bringing that stuff back again. You know what I mean? It's just so fucking awesome.
Well, thank you for all you're doing for stone lifting and what it's amazing to watch what you're doing for Ireland. So it is so cool.
It's been rewarding to see. Oh, go ahead.
It's just amazing. It's just amazing. And it's such an honor and such a gift. And it's just so cool to talk to people who actually understand it and who get it, because you still get a lot of people like, in fairness, a lot of people here are like, no, that's so cool. But you always get that like, what the fuck's he on about? I mean, just to be able to talk to you guys, and thanks for having me back on because, like I said, I requested this.
Oh, of
and
course.
There's so many other people out there who can talk about stone lifting, but it's great to be invited back. It's so awesome. And
maybe we'll be doing it again.
More stories.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back.
I can't imagine next 8 months what's going to happen.
Well, maybe we make it a yearly thing, maybe, and we see, please God, what happened in the next 12 months, because if it keeps going, the trajectory is going, who knows what the hell is going to happen.
Yeah.
So onwards and upwards, man. Yeah.
To mirror what David said, I mean, it's been incredibly rewarding watching your journey and seeing what you have done for Ireland, but also to see all the amazing things that also have come into your life because of the efforts you put in. And even though that we're across an ocean or on the other side of the world, we've been benefiting from that as well, right? You've brought attention, focus, and a sense of importance to stone lifting that is really, really hard to convey if you're in an area like, let's say, in Edmonton, where our stones don't have that history. So for us, it's more so the physical endeavor that draws us, unless we get an opportunity to go and travel. But when we can tell people to say, hey, like what we're doing is historically connected. If you want to understand how historically connected this activity is, go look at Indiana Stones' page and then come back and tell me whether or not you think stone lifting is fucking awesome or not. So,
and even the downstream effect of what you've done. First of all, like the GQ article, we got exposure for our local stones through that. You very kindly mentioned us on the Art of Manliness podcast. Now, Alyssa Ages, who wrote the GQ article, we have next month coming out a massive article in the biggest newspaper in Canada that features
That's
a lot
incredible.
of Edmonton Stones of Strength. And then we were approached by a very, very big company about 6 weeks ago, and they had heard about us through the GQ magazine, through the Art of Manliness podcast, and they came and we had a full film crew in my garage, and they're doing a documentary on modern masculinity.
Yeah.
And so all of this stuff is linked here in Canada from what you've been doing over there. So thank you for that.
It's absolutely, that's just so awesome to hear. That's amazing. I'm just so happy that it's I can help out in any way, like that. You know what I mean? It's that's so awesome to hear. That's brilliant. I mean,
yeah. And the documentary,
that's just so cool. I'm delighted for you guys. That's
a conversation that needs to be had, and it centers around masculinity and how young men today have sort of lost an understanding of what being masculine actually means. There's all these, representations online that might be leading them in the wrong direction of, I don't want to use the buzzwords, but toxic masculinity, or people who sort of embody maybe the less desirable qualities of masculinity, but they have a huge following online, and that's sort of the North Star for some of these young men growing up. Whereas, part of our place in this was about the physical tests that were predominant as a passage into manhood and tied to masculinity through stone lifting. And so
they're just so important.
Yeah,
it is.
It's so important. I can't wait to see what you guys do with that. I'm really looking forward to seeing that documentary.
Yeah, well,
that's so cool. And like I said,
for sure.
Oh, fuck, definitely, man. I can't wait to see it. And like I said, it's a conversation that needs to be had. So I mean, the more it gets out there, and the more you can help people through this, using the stone lifting as a means to explore that is fantastic, because that's what in a lot of places that's what it started off as. These tests of virility, these tests of strength. And like I said, it's important to have some kind of a rite of passage into adulthood. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Whether you be male or female, it's very important to have these rights. And like the indigenous peoples, and the ancient Irish people certainly, and the ancient Scottish people, most ancient peoples had these rights, had these ways of becoming an adult, which we don't have anymore. You're just meant to act differently now. You know what I mean? Right. When you hit a certain age. So I mean, I think those rights are very important. They're missed. And I think there's a hunger to bring them back. And just like I said, watching the younger guys do that, and seeing the joy in their faces from achieving something difficult was awesome. And let's just keep powering that forward. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Indiana Stones, thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor. Lads,
thank you so much for having me on again. Looking forward to talking to you again soon. All right. Slán go forward.
Thank you so much, David. We'll be in touch, man. Cheers.
On the ball, lads. Mind yourselves.
All right.